Welcome to the Blind Zone, where curiosity brings its own reward. And what am I curious about today? I'm curious why, for so long, I have tried to push myself in the spotlight. This was made so obvious and aware to me through a number of different circumstances. And I have to tell you right up front that my husband, the one who passed away, David, he was probably the kindest, most gentlest person ever. And I spent most of our marriage trying to get him to notice me. So, as you can well imagine, I'm not the shy, quiet type. So, I don't know why I felt I had to go out of my way. But I actually did a very short stint as a stand up comic. And the first line was, I'm doing this because I don't think my husband pays enough attention to me. And then I bowed. And then during the course of our marriage, I did some other crazy and wild things that really was trying to get him to pay more attention to me. And it wasn't like he disregarded me or he was distant. He just interacted differently than I did. And after his death, and I moved here at Easter time, I would always dye my hair pink. And I did it every year, and it was just a fun Easter thing to do. But a friend of mine said, Denise, why do you do that? And I thought about it and I said, well, because it's fun. And then I thought about it. I said, no, it's really so that I can draw attention to myself when maybe I would have been a little more unnoticed and I didn't really care for that. And so I stopped dyeing my hair pink until I can come with the dyeing it pink with a different expectation than looking like I'm trying to get people to look at me, which obviously I had been doing. And I kid often that in the book of Genesis, when Moses is standing on the mountain and God says to him, Moses, Moses, at the sight of the burning bush, I say kiddingly, but in all seriousness, that if I'd have been there, I'd have knocked Moses out of the way and said, I can do it, God. I'm your gal. I'm just perfect for this job. And I recognize that even in that, even in my Christianity, I'm always waving a red flag. Pick me, I can do it, I know I can. And then when I read things in the Bible, there's nowhere in the Bible that people have shoved themselves in the front of the line that God used in any great way. Now, some he used, because it was his providential will. And then the more humbling part of this came when one of the pastors that I really, really like, his name is Joby Martin, and he's from the Church of 1122 in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, if anybody could have a big head, it would be him because he knows tons of people. He's super popular, and what he does is fabulous. The way he tells you the stories, you remember them, you remember the scripture, you can tie it all together, you can apply it to your life, and he is just fabulous. And I was listening to his podcast, Deeper, a couple weeks ago, and he said something that just made me grieve at how different we were. He said if he got to a restaurant and there was a bunch of chairs there because a lot of people were welcomed, he would look around and he would start to assess where he would sit. Then he would catch himself and he would take himself off to the bathroom until everybody else had been seated, and he would come down and sit in the seat that was vacant. So he didn't posture, he didn't position, he didn't put himself between the best possible choices. He let the choice be made by others for him, and he sat down. And again, if anybody could just say, do you not know I'm Joby Martin? I could, but he didn't do that at all. He humbly submitted to what other people wanted. And I saw that I really don't do that. And the second example, which was even more startling to me, I was listening to a message and the gentleman was talking about First Samuel and the 27th chapter. And it was about David. And God was not in that chapter at all because it was about David scheming and pondering and preparing and doing workarounds. And it was David, 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 David. And again, God was not in the chapter at all. And I thought to myself, when I came here, I had said that I would lead a fearless life for Christ. But what I failed to do and recognize was that it wasn't me, it was the Spirit working through me that would accomplish what He would want for me to do, and not in my own devices. And I have to say that at times I feel like the whack-a-mole, where I'm just, I want something and I poke my head up, and I'm like, Denise, if you're trusting in God, He'll work it out. You don't have to look for that. Oh, so I decided that I do not want to have a godless chapter in my life, that if I don't ever achieve anything, I'll do whatever it is the Lord would have for me to do, because I do want to delight myself in the Lord, and He will give me the desires of my heart. So again, I'm going to take off the glitz, take off the tiara, and humbly submit whatever it is the Lord would have for me to do. I will be happy. And that's a big departure from what I've attempted to do my whole life, waving the red flag. Pick me, pick me. I don't want a godless chapter. I want to do whatever it is He would have for me to do. So that's it. And I think I learned more about myself in doing these episodes than if I just thought about it and didn't share it with anybody. So now you get to see some more ugly warts part of me, but with the help of the Spirit, I can change this. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week on The Blind Zone.